India and the UAE are expected to hold preliminary discussions later this month as a precursor to renegotiating their bilateral air services agreement. That's what we're talking about on today's edition of Inside AB. I'm Bernd de Busman and I'm here with Shruti Nair. So, Shruti, what exactly is this meeting about? Tell us about it.
Well, basically, India and the UAE civil aviation officials, they met. They've actually slated a meeting for the 15th of January, which is when the Global Aviation Summit is about to take place. And the main point, the talking point of the discussion is going to be expanding bilateral airline seat capacities. So that is one thing, because there's a lot of air traffic, there's a lot of demand supply happening, and just to meet the demand from the people, they need to renegotiate the entire agreement, which has just expired.
So why is this happening now? I mean, why has it taken this long to have this negotiation?
Right, basically, so the reason why it's happening right now is because India and the UAE, they've already exhausted the rights agreed in the previous bilateral agreement that they've signed. So now it's time to rebuild a new agreement and to discuss it further. So authorities from the UAE have been discussing their Indian counterparts to, increase the seating capacities and also provide more facilities for the people who are traveling to and from the UAE. So this seems like a good time when there is again a lot of supply, and also, like I mentioned earlier, the agreement is about to expire. So this is just a great time. But not just for the region, not just for Asia, this is happening across the world, because according to a report that was published recently by the International Civil Aviation Organization, they've predicted that by the year 2030, there's going to be 100% increase in global air travel. So that's the number we're talking about in this entire perspective, essentially. So I think this is a very important conversation to have right now, and it is also important to just increase efforts by the whole airline ecosystem. And we're not just talking about individual airlines, but the global ecosystem to come together and just meet the demands.
So why are authorities so keen on doing this? What are they hoping to get out of it in the long run?
Right, well, they're hoping they'll get a lot of it, out of it in the long run. But for now, they are extremely keen because Dubai, as you know, and some other cities in the UAE as well, are some of the most sought after cities to come to from Dubai. So we see a lot of passengers and travelers from India coming to Dubai. And this is not just Indian expatriates that I'm talking about. We know there's a huge Indian expatriate population in living in Dubai and in the UAE. But we also see a lot of business travelers, a lot of tourists coming into the country very, very often and very, very frequently for a number of reasons. It's very close to India, etc., etc. So that is why, going back to demand and supply, there's a huge demand that has to be met from India. So besides that, there is also a huge cargo traffic coming to Dubai from India. So a lot of trade that happens between the two countries, and it's important to meet those demands as well. So in October, and actually October to December, that period of last year, Dubai to Mumbai sector remained the busiest route among the GCC. And you need to remember, this happened at the time where the air traffic or the air passenger traffic was going down across the region due to the economic downturn, etc. So at that time, if Dubai and India, Dubai and Mumbai maintained the whole passenger traffic, then, it's time.
So are all the Indian carriers going to be affected by this once it comes into play?
Yeah, most of them are going to be affected by it, but just to name a few, it's going to be Air India Express and Indigo, both of which are budget airlines that are going to be affected. And that's why they've also started taking proactive measures. So they have already increased the number of flights, the number of times that they are going to be traveling to the UAE, especially Dubai. So they've introduced a number of additional routes, a number of additional timings to Dubai and from Dubai, of course. But one airline that is suffering right now is Jet Airways. It's been in the news for a while, but Jet Airways recently announced a withdrawal of direct flights between some of the cities in India and the UAE, the ones which are not profitable, but this is due to economical reasons.
So you just mentioned Jet Airways, and they're not in the best position right now, as you said. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, they are not in the best position. They've been in the news for a while now. So basically what happened was they failed to meet the debt demands to banks, and as a result of which the stocks fell by 5% on Wednesday. Again, the lowest in a while now. We also need to remember that Etihad Railway, they hold a 24% stake in Jet Airways. So we are directly, or our airline is directly being affected by that. Last year, they failed to announce their earnings, but in the month of August, I think, they ended up not paying salaries to a lot of their stuff, which again led to a lot of negative publicity, negative PR. But now they've actually come up with their earnings, which is not much, which is about like they faced a loss of $178 million, which is a lot, which is why they're cost cutting, and the cost cutting has amounted to a total of $280 million, which is again a lot. So that's where Jet Airways is at right now.
Okay, well, thank you. That's an important story, of course, for a lot of people here in the UAE. If you'd like to read more about that, head to ArabianBusiness.com. As always, you're watching Inside AB. Make sure to tune in every weekday morning at 10 a.m. and subscribe below. Thanks.